My nephew Oliver offered to be my emergency contact for the safety deposit box. That seemed reasonable. He was family, and I was getting older. I gave him access 16 years ago. Then last month I couldn't find my key. I searched everywhere. Gone. So I went to the bank to get a replacement. That's when the manager pulled up the access log. The box had been opened 11 days ago. I hadn't been to that bank in 8 months. That was strange, but maybe a clerical error. Then I asked for the full history. 47 visits over 16 years, every single one on dates I was traveling. Exposed. Out of the country. That's when I realized Oliver had made a duplicate key. I opened the box. The bearer bonds my father left me, $2.3 million, were gone, replaced with photocopies. But the part that made my blood run cold? I checked Oliver's laptop while he was in the bathroom last Sunday. His search history included how to make a heart attack look natural in men over 70. I turned 71 3 weeks ago. The bank manager asked if I wanted to file a report. I told her I needed to think. She looked at me with something close to pity. I recognized that look. It was the look people give old men when they assume we don't understand what's happening to us. I understood perfectly. I drove home and pulled out every quarterly statement I'd kept since 2009. Exposed. I'd noted every access date the bank sent me. I never threw anything away. 40 years in logistics teaches you that paper trails matter. The dates matched Oliver's visits exactly, but they also matched something else. My travel schedule. Every single trip I'd taken for work. Every vacation after I retired. Portugal, Japan, Costa Rica, the Mediterranean cruise for my 70th birthday. Oliver knew when I'd be gone. Every time. That wasn't luck. That wasn't coincidence. Someone had been feeding him my itinerary for 16 years. I sat at my kitchen table until 2 in the morning, looking at the evidence. I needed to know everything before I did anything. The next morning, I went to the basement and pulled out Catherine's journals. She kept one every year of our marriage, 34 volumes. After she died, I couldn't bring myself to read them. They sat in a cedar chest next to her sewing machine, untouched for 16 years. I found the entry from March 2008, 6 months before the cancer took her. She'd written about Oliver, about watching him at family dinners, the way he looked at our things. The questions he asked about the bonds, about the house, about what would happen when we were gone. He asks too many questions about money, she'd written, and he never asks about you, only about what you have. The last line was underlined twice. Make him prove himself before you trust him with anything real. Catherine made me promise to take precautions. I did, but I never told anyone what those precautions were, not even my lawyer. I closed the journal and sat with it in my lap for a long time. But the theft wasn't what kept me awake. It was the search history. And the question I couldn't answer. How long did I have before Oliver decided waiting wasn't fast enough? My father died of a heart attack at 71. Everyone in the family knew that. Oliver knew that. And now, Oliver was researching how to make heart attacks look natural. I needed to move faster than I'd planned. I started with my email. I logged in from my desktop and checked the settings. Under forwarding rules, I found it. Every email containing the words flight, itinerary, travel, or booking had been automatically forwarded to a Gmail address I didn't recognize. The rule was created in 2010, 14 years. Oliver had been reading my emails for 14 years. I checked the login history. Multiple access points from devices I didn't own. IP addresses from across the city. He'd been careful, never accessing from his home, always from coffee shops or public Wi-Fi, but not careful enough. I documented everything, screenshots, printed copies, timestamps. Then I changed my passwords. All of them, every account, every login, every piece of my digital life that Oliver had been watching. He'd notice eventually, but by then, it wouldn't matter. I thought about calling the police that night, filing a report, letting the system handle it. But Oliver was a financial advisor. He knew how to make things disappear. He knew how to make old men look confused. If I came forward without proof, without witnesses, without documentation that couldn't be dismissed, I'd be the senile uncle who couldn't accept that his nephew was helping him. No, this needed to be public. It needed to be undeniable. It needed to happen somewhere Oliver couldn't talk his way out of. I picked up the phone and called Harold Chen. He'd been my accountant for 20 years before he retired, but his daughter Grace had taken over the practice. She specialized in forensic accounting. Grace Chen didn't ask unnecessary questions. I showed her the access logs, the email forwarding rules, the quarterly statements. She looked at everything for 10 minutes without speaking. Then she said, "I can have a full picture in 2 weeks. Bank records, asset traces, debt filings, everything your nephew has touched financially for the past decade." I told her I might not have 2 weeks. She looked at me. "Then I'll have it in 5 days." On day 3, my sister Ellen called. We hadn't spoken in almost 2 months. Not unusual for us, but her voice was strange. "Careful, Walter," she said. "I've been meaning to check on you. Oliver mentioned you've been having some trouble lately, forgetting things." I kept my voice steady. "What kind of trouble?" She paused. "He said you called him by your father's name last week and that you've been confused about what year it is. He's worried about you." I hadn't seen Oliver in 3 weeks. I hadn't called anyone by the wrong name. "That's interesting," I said. "Did he mention anything else?" She hesitated. "He said he's been looking into care options, just in case. He wants to make sure you're taken care of." I thanked her for calling, told her I was fine. After I hung up, I sat very still for a long time. Oliver wasn't just stealing from me, he was building a case, laying groundwork. When the time came, everyone would already believe I was losing my mind. The next day, I received a certified letter. Oliver had filed for power of attorney. The hearing was scheduled for 3 weeks out. The letter said I could contest it. It said I had the right to legal representation. It said the court would evaluate my mental competency. It didn't say that my nephew had been telling everyone I was senile for months. It didn't say he'd stolen $2.3 million from my safety deposit box. It didn't say he was researching how to kill me. I called my lawyer, Miriam Okonkwo. She'd handled Catherine's estate. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she said, "We're going to need documentation, witnesses, a paper trail he can't explain away." I told her I was working on it. What I discovered next changed everything. But before I continue, if you're watching this and you've ever been dismissed because of your age, this story is for you. This is Elder Vengeance, where patience defeats greed. Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, because when I walked into Oliver's office with those access logs and his own signatures, the look on his face told me everything. He thought he'd been stealing millions for 16 years. He was about to find out what he actually took. Grace delivered her report on day 5. Oliver owed $412,000 in gambling debts. He had a second mortgage on his house that his wife didn't know about. His credit cards were maxed. His brokerage account was empty. And 16 years ago, right before I gave him access to the safety deposit box, he'd declared bankruptcy, a fact he'd hidden from the entire family. She also found the former bank employee, Michael Webb, fired 6 years ago for helping clients access boxes they shouldn't have access to. He was facing fraud charges in an unrelated case and was very interested in cooperating for a reduced sentence. Michael confirmed everything. Oliver had paid him $8,000 for a duplicate key and access to my visit schedule. I had what I needed, almost. That's when Oliver made his mistake. He called to check on me. "Uncle Walt," he said, "just wanted to see how you're doing. Mom mentioned you two talked. I told him I was fine, just tired." He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Are those new heart pills working out? I know the adjustment can be rough." I stopped breathing. I'd started blood pressure medication 6 weeks ago. I hadn't told anyone. Not Ellen, not Oliver, not a single person in my family. I asked him how he knew about the pills. "Mom mentioned it," he said, too quickly. Ellen didn't know. I was certain of it, which meant Oliver had access to something else. My pharmacy records, my medical information. He was monitoring me in ways I hadn't even considered. The research on his laptop wasn't theoretical. He was tracking my health, waiting for the right moment, maybe planning to help things along. I told him the pills were fine. I told him I was feeling better every day. I told him I'd see him at Sunday dinner. Then I hung up and called Miriam. "We need to move faster," I said. "He's not just waiting for me to die. He's making sure it happens." Oliver worked at Pemberton Financial Group. Glass walls, Open floor plan, 30 employees who could see everything that happened in the corner offices. I chose 11 in the morning on a Tuesday, peak hours, maximum witnesses. Miriam walked in first, then Detective Prasad, then me, carrying a leather folder that contained 16 years of evidence. The receptionist recognized me. "Mr. Thornton," she said, "Oliver didn't mention you were coming." "He didn't know," I said. "Oliver saw us through the glass before we reached his office." I watched his face cycle through confusion, concern, and then something he probably thought looked like warmth. He stood up and came to the door. "Uncle Walt, this is a surprise." He looked at Miriam, then at Detective Prasad, then back at me. "Is everything okay?" "I'd like to talk," I said. "Here, now." His smile flickered. "Of course. Come in, come in." He gestured toward his desk, then noticed his colleagues watching through the glass. "Maybe we should find a conference room." "Here is fine," I said. "I want your coworkers to hear this." Something shifted in his eyes, but the smile stayed. "Uncle Walt, you're worrying me. Have you been feeling okay? I know the medication adjustment has been hard." I set the leather folder on his desk. "Sit down, Oliver." He sat, still smiling, still playing the concerned nephew. I opened the folder and removed the first document. Bank access logs. 47 visits over 16 years. Every single one signed with your name. He glanced at the pages. "Didn't touch them. I don't understand what this is supposed to prove. You gave me access to the box. I was checking on things for you, making sure everything was secure." I placed the second document on top. My travel records. Every trip I took from 2009 to 2024. Notice anything interesting? He didn't answer. "Every time you visited the box, I was out of the country. You knew my schedule because you'd been forwarding my emails to yourself for 14 years. His smile was gone now. "Uncle Walt, I think you're confused. This is exactly what I was worried about. The memory issues, the paranoia." I placed the third document on top, the forensic accountant's report. 412,000 in gambling debts. A second mortgage your wife doesn't know about. Bankruptcy 16 years ago, right before you asked for access to my safety deposit box. His face went pale. By now, his colleagues had stopped pretending to work. I could see them watching through the glass. Some had moved closer. That's when I told him about Catherine's journal and what she made me promise. "Your aunt never trusted you," I said. "She watched you at family dinners, the way you looked at our things, the questions you asked about what would happen when we were gone." Oliver's jaw tightened. "She made me promise to test you before I trusted you with anything real." I pulled out the photographs. Bearer bonds, serial numbers visible, dated 2008. "These are the real bonds," I said. "I moved them 6 months after Catherine died. Different bank, different city. Your name isn't on the access list." He stared at the photographs. "What you've been stealing for 16 years. I let that sit for a moment. "Were prop reproductions, the kind they use in movies. I ordered them online for $40. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. "That's not, you can't." I placed the final document on top, a side-by-side comparison. Serial numbers from the props, serial numbers from the originals. None of them matched. "You spent 16 years stealing worthless paper, Oliver, and then you left photocopies of worthless paper so I wouldn't notice." Someone outside the glass made a sound. Might have been a laugh, might have been a gasp. Detective Prasad stepped forward. "Oliver Whitmore, I have a warrant for your arrest. Theft over $5,000. Fraud, conspiracy to commit elder abuse, unauthorized access to protected medical records." Oliver stood up. His chair hit the wall behind him. "This is insane. He's confused. He's been having memory problems for months. Ask anyone." "I've already spoken to your mother," Detective Prasad said. "She confirmed you've been lying about your uncle's mental state, and Mr. Webb has provided a full statement about the duplicate key." Oliver looked at me. For the first time, I saw fear. "Uncle Walt, please. I was desperate. The gambling. I have a problem. I was going to pay it back. I never meant to hurt you." I thought about the search history on his laptop, how to make a heart attack look natural. I thought about the pharmacy records, the way he'd known about my medication. I thought about Catherine's journal, the warning she'd left me, the promise I'd kept. The bonds were a test, Oliver. Catherine never trusted you. Turns out she was right. I picked up my folder. "You failed it 16 years ago." I just wanted to see how far you would go. I walked out of his office. Behind me, Detective Prasad was reading Oliver his rights. Through the glass walls, 30 financial advisors watched their colleague being handcuffed. I didn't look back. Within 2 weeks, 4 things happened. The first call came from Ellen, my sister, Oliver's mother. She was crying before she finished saying my name. Walter, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. He told me you were confused. He told me you were forgetting things. I believed him. I let her talk. She needed to say it. When he asked me about your medications, I didn't think anything of it. He said he was worried about you. He said he wanted to help. I gave him your pharmacy information because I thought, her voice broke. I thought he loved you. I told her it wasn't her fault. Oliver had been lying to everyone for 16 years. She was his mother. Of course she believed him, but she kept apologizing for doubting me, for almost testifying at the competency hearing, for not seeing what her son had become. Before she hung up, she said something I'll never forget. Catherine tried to warn me about him once, years ago. I didn't listen. I should have listened. The second thing happened 3 days after the arrest. Pemberton Financial Group terminated Oliver's employment. The official reason was conduct unbecoming of a licensed financial advisor. The real reason spread through the industry in hours. A financial advisor who spent 16 years stealing bearer bonds that turned out to be worthless movie props. The story was everywhere, not in the news. Financial professionals don't air their embarrassments publicly, but in the networks that mattered. The whispered conversations, the emails between colleagues, the quiet laughter at industry events. Oliver's securities license was suspended pending criminal proceedings. Even if he somehow avoided prison, he would never work in finance again. His reputation wasn't just damaged, it was erased. The third thing was the formal charges: theft over $5,000, fraud, conspiracy to commit elder abuse, unauthorized access to protected medical records. Michael Webb, the former bank employee, testified against Oliver in exchange for a reduced sentence on his own charges. He provided documentation, dates, dollar amounts, proof of the duplicate key. The prosecutor told Miriam they were considering additional charges related to the death research on Oliver's laptop. Nothing concrete yet, but they were looking. Oliver's lawyer tried to argue diminished capacity, gambling addiction, financial desperation. The judge wasn't sympathetic. The fourth thing happened on a Thursday afternoon. Jenna filed for divorce. She'd found the second mortgage, the gambling debts, the maxed credit cards, everything Oliver had hidden from her for years. But that wasn't what ended the marriage. It was the search history, how to make a heart attack look natural in men over 70. She told Ellen she couldn't live with a man who'd been planning to let his uncle die, who'd been monitoring his medications, who'd been waiting for the right moment. She took the kids, filed for full custody, moved back to her mother's house in Vancouver. The power of attorney hearing was canceled. There was no longer any question about my mental competency. There was no longer any question about anything. 3 months later, I drove to the cemetery where Catherine is buried. It was early November, cold, but not bitter. The kind of day she would have liked. Clear sky, no wind, the leaves mostly gone from the maples along the path. I brought a small bouquet, yellow roses, her favorite. I sat on the bench across from her headstone and talked to her for a while. Told her about Oliver, about the trial, about Ellen's apology and Jenna's divorce and the way everything had unfolded exactly the way she would have predicted. You saved everything, I said. You always knew. 16 years ago, she'd seen something in Oliver that I couldn't see, or wouldn't see. She'd warned me anyway, made me promise to protect myself. I kept that promise, and because I did, Oliver stole nothing but worthless paper and wasted years of his own life chasing money that was never there. Catherine had been gone for 16 years, but she was still protecting me. The letter from Oliver's lawyer arrived the following week. 3 pages. Handwritten by Oliver, forwarded through his attorney. He talked about his gambling addiction, the pressure, the desperation. He said he never meant to hurt me. He said the search history was just curiosity. He would never have acted on it. He asked me to write a letter to the judge, something about family, something about mercy. I read it twice. Then I put it in the recycling bin. Some things don't deserve responses. In December, I met with my financial advisor, not Oliver, obviously, and arranged a donation, $200,000 to the Canadian Centre for Elder Law, an organization that helps seniors protect themselves from financial abuse, exploitation, and fraud. The donation was made in Catherine's name. I didn't tell anyone about it, didn't need recognition, didn't need thanks, but somewhere Catherine knew. And that was enough. I'm 71 years old. I've learned a few things. I've learned that trust isn't something you give, it's something people earn. And when they failed that test, you don't owe them a second chance. I've learned that the people who love you will try to protect you even after they're gone. You just have to listen. And I've learned that patience isn't weakness, it's strategy. Sometimes you have to wait 16 years to see who someone really is. Oliver thought he was smarter than me, thought I was too old to notice, too confused to fight back. He was wrong. If you're watching this and you've ever discovered someone was counting the days until you were gone, drop a comment below and let me know your story. Have you ever had to protect yourself from the people who were supposed to protect you? This is Elder Vengeance, where the underestimated always get the last word. Subscribe for more stories where quiet dignity defeats loud entitlement. Hit that like button if watching. Oliver lose everything. His job, his family, his freedom felt like justice. And remember, assumptions are expensive, especially when you make them about the people who taught you everything you know. Until next time.